Good morning, everyone. It's an excellent day today, isn't it? Not just because there's summer outside in the middle of winter. For all those people traveling from the East Coast and Canada, welcome. This is California. But because we delivered hydrogen in less than a year, that's excellent news as well. And finally, we at IBM announced a product based on Open Daylight. It's called IBM SDN VE. Where's Neela? Let me take a jab at him. It's called IBM SDN VE. It stands for SDN for virtual environments. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that product. But primarily, I want to discuss the learnings that went into it, into using Open Daylight. The use case that Neela pointed out earlier, use case number 2, which was taking the Open Daylight core and building a product out of it. So we've done that, so we'll want to share some learnings around it. And also, encourage everyone here to do the same. So before I go into that, I just want to touch a little bit about where we stand in the bigger picture. You know, we all here networking people for SDN and Open Daylight in particular. But where do we fit into the big picture? And why are we so important? I mean, a little hubris amongst friends is fine. We are important. Networking is important in the bigger picture. Then talk about the learnings based on the product that we've built using Open Daylight. And finally, the benefits and challenges of using ODP for your SDN, whether you're an end user or you're building a product as a systems or a software vendor. And for this topic, I had a bunch of discussions with Dave Meyer, so I want to thank Dave for his insights on this topic as well. So let's dig into it. So what's happening in the systems within the data center today? So if you look on the left-hand side of this picture, those are the traditional systems that existed in the data center. Primarily, they were transactional in nature. For example, enterprise applications, your CRM, your HR databases, things like that. Very, very transaction-oriented. Then came about these systems of engagement, which were mostly around mobile, social, or big data analysis. But what's coming up recently has been the systems of interaction. Case in point, take your mobile phone, for example. You have an airline app on your mobile phone, which allows you to book your seats or check in for your flight. That's a mobile application, but it's interacting with a transactional system sitting somewhere in a data center somewhere. So why do we need to understand all of this? The need to understand all of this comes from what happens to your actual infrastructure. So if you see the bottom of this page, the traditional systems were very, very hardwired. You knew which machines, which network, which storage pieces contained your database, for example. You knew that very well. It was single function, it was inelastic. Those are the bad things about it. But it was a simple consumption model. You knew exactly what that piece of hardware did. And therefore, the SLAs could be guaranteed. Your service levels could be guaranteed, and there were no security issues. You knew you had to go through a firewall when you went from a database to a middleware tier, for example. On the right-hand side, with this new emerging trend, which is primarily driven by DevOps, the DevOps community, and because infrastructure is now getting highly, highly shared. That's a good thing, because you save on CapEx. You can be agile and elastic. That's a good thing as well. So you can respond to your business needs. But then, the consumption model now becomes very complex because it's no longer a single function entity. Things can be moved around, things are situated dynamically, you don't know what's going on. And therefore, you cannot guarantee SLAs, and there are security issues. So we need to understand how these two sides are consumed before we understand why SDN is so important. So if you look at this picture, all this talks about is what happens when a line of business developer thinks of a solution, thinks of a problem he's trying to solve for his end users, and then tries to deploy it on the infrastructure. What are the steps that you need to go through? So you start from a solution definition. That's right up there, tier 1. You think about the presentation tier, you think about the application tier, the data tier, you connect them up logically, that's your solution. You're not worried about which VM to use, how to connect the VMs, which firewall to use, and so on and so forth. That happens much later in the infrastructure pattern. So you think of a software pattern, you think of a solution definition, you translate it to infrastructure pattern, and that infrastructure pattern, which is actually talking about the VMs, the bare metal, the network, and all of that connectivity, is what is deployed on the hardware. Now, these two consumption models are very important to understand. The first one is traditionally been the transactional model, prepackaged software that you would buy off the shelf and deploy it. The second one is a programmable DevOps model, where you're actually creating your application from scratch, the AWS kind of model. For SDN to be successful, the conjecture is that you need to support both of these consumption models. It's not about the technology. Yes, it is. But sooner or later, the technology will get mature to a point where actually what matters is how the technology is consumed. And that's why these two things are very important to note. So where do we stand in this entire big picture? On the left-hand side is the entire stack, starting from the orchestration services, the application patterns, down to the infrastructure services, infrastructure patterns, and finally the actual infrastructure itself of storage, compute, and network, with the one being the application pattern model of consumption and two being the DevOps model of consumption. I'm going to ignore everything else in the top half of this picture and concentrate on the bottom half of the picture, which is actually expounded here with the compute, storage, and network pieces, and primarily our piece sits right there. So it's a small piece in the big puzzle, but it's a very, very important piece, going back to the hubris. You can take a whole bunch of open source components and actually build this picture out yourself, the entire data center stack, starting with Open Daylight, which we are here to talk about, OpenStack, Overt, and Open Virtualization Alliance, Cloud Console. All of these pieces exist as open source mechanisms for you to build that stack. You can do that and benefit from open source as an end user. All the standard open source benefits apply, starting from freedom of choice with no vendor lock-in, allowing you to build your own extensions in your data center, which pertain to your vertical, power to influence the direction, so you can actually decide what goes into the code because you're part of the community. You don't have to haggle with a vendor to do this. And it's typically less buggy and more secure. No backdoors. That's very, very crucial in this day and age. The benefit of a community-backed project is even greater. So there's open source and there's open source. And Open Daylight, as Neela was pointing out, is a community-backed project. It's got a large community behind it, large vendor community. Why is that good for an end user? Enough said. I mean, because if there are lots of vendors supporting that community, there's competition, and that's good for the end user. There's a large user base, so you can share experiences, figure out what works, what doesn't work. There's a large developer base, so it's easy to find skills to deploy in your data center operations. So you can opt for both of these routes, build your own, which you might think is free, but actually, as one of the telecom service providers told us, it takes a staff of almost 300 people to run his OpenStack environment. So you can go that route. That's one route. The other route is to go commercial and get a product which is based off of this open source project. And that's where the IBM SDN-VE product is built to go. Very quickly, I'll talk through the IBM SDN-VE solution. I don't want this to be a product pitch, but I just wanted to show you what it entails. So it starts with the base controller framework, which is based off of Open Daylight. It's pre-Hydrogen today because Hydrogen just got released today. So we will be catching up to Hydrogen in the future, but it is based off of Open Daylight. It's got this connectivity service chaining, and this is a funny name. We started with connectivity service, which we thought was appropriate, and then the industry adopted service chaining, which I agree with other people is the chaining is not that good a word. So we changed it to connectivity service chaining. It encompasses the best of both worlds. This is the framework that allows both of those consumption models to be realized, whether they are application patterns through Tosca documents or whether they are infrastructure patterns through OpenStack heat maps. Both of those are supported through this API. And this is crucial for the success of SDN. Of course, a whole bunch of network services that we provide as part of the solution. Drivers, so because this is a unified SDN controller, it does overlays based on VXLAN as well as OpenFlow in the same product, same controller. A whole slew of virtual appliances to do overlays on OpenFlow, as well as security and load balancing appliances to insert in your service chain. And here we've worked with partners to enable that. And finally, the data plane, which is the forwarding engines, whether they're physical or virtual, both forwarding engines. I don't want to go through the block diagram here, but what I wanted to point out here, based on the color code that you see below, is that the OSGI-based model that exists in Open Daylight is very powerful. It allows you to build something which is a commercial product, leveraging components that exist in Open Daylight, bringing your own components like applications that you would want to provide as a vendor, and bundling them together into a product that makes sense without worrying about IP issues or licensing issues and so on and so forth. So that's the takeaway from this slide. We've done that. I encourage all vendors here to do the same. This was the connectivity service UI. All I wanted to point out here was this is the way we see SDN being consumed in the enterprise data center, where you take an application pattern or an infrastructure pattern and just simply deploy that on the SDN infrastructure below. And that should be the de facto API going forward. Now, we've just started doing work both in Open Daylight in the policy work, as well as OpenStack in the Heat community. But we need to do a lot more work here to make SDN successful in the enterprise. A whole bunch of bullets around our overlay product, as well as our suite of OpenFlow applications. Again, all I wanted to point here is we built this product, we've contributed a few things to the community, we've leveraged a lot from the community, and there are applications here which we would want to provide to our end users which have not yet been contributed to the community. So it's a mixture of all kinds of applications that go into the building of this product. And finally, the benefits and challenges that we faced as a vendor when we built this product, starting with the challenges. Productization. Now, Open Daylight is a framework. You can take that, you can build a product out of it, you can deploy it in your environment, but you need a lot of work behind it to make it product ready. First of all, user experience. Just deploying this thing, deploying the controller, deploying the virtual appliances, deploying the forwarding elements, doing upgrades, things like that. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to make that product worthy. Usage. To be able to make it apply to those consumption models that I talked about. A lot of work needs to be done to do that, and the community is just beginning to work towards that. And finally, fine-tuning it to certain verticals. For example, to get this thing into federal accounts, we needed to do things like security and NIST compliance. That's something that we hope Open Daylight will do in the future, but right now it doesn't exist. So we needed to do certain things to make it applicable to verticals that we want to go after. Test. Luis and team have done an excellent job of getting this hydrogen release out. But we want to take that, we've leveraged a lot of that testing effort. We are not duplicating that effort at all, but we are leveraging that effort and making it work against a whole bunch of other controllers, making it work against real-world environments, making it work at scale, and making it available for certain verticals that we want to go after. These are the things that we had to do to make it, again, product worthy. And finally, synchronization. And this is where I think the biggest challenge lies in the initial days of Open Daylight, where there's this constant push and pull between the upstream code and what you have in your product stream. And that took us a while, and it is not done yet. I mean, we'll have to catch up with the hydrogen release, make sure that that is part of the next release that we have of SDN-BE. But there are a whole bunch of benefits, and I just want to touch base on some of these because they matter a lot to you as an organization if you want to use Open Daylight, or any open source project for that matter. Again, community-backed project, it helps because you have a large user base. Things go wrong, you can get onto your IRC channel, you can get onto mailing lists, you can figure out what's wrong, you can learn from experience of the others. Large developer base for a software company, that's key. You can hire from that community. It raises the bar. Because there is a large vendor community behind this project, you're always on your toes as an organization. There's an agile developer community that also causes you to be on your toes, so you're not reinventing stuff. You always have to build stuff which creates more value upon something that already exists. And that pushes innovation because the community is innovating. It is innovating at points where it makes sense. So when you look at those points, you see where the community wants to take it, you see where the user base wants to take it. So you want to innovate at those points in the system. And it improves organizational culture. You are no longer this behemoth that is slow. Because there is an agile process behind all of this, your organization improves as a result. Finally, better focus. So instead of reinventing the wheel, you focus on customer-driven value, where it makes sense, where it drives revenue for your business. And the flexible architecture that we have in Open Daylight, like I mentioned earlier, retains the corporate value. So if you have something which is key to your business, which provides that revenue for your business, you can retain that because the licensing is built that way. The OSGI model is actually built that way. So I would encourage every one of you in this room to take Open Daylight, take Hydrogen, use it in your product, use it in your data center, and come back and give a talk the next time around. Thank you.